And we are live here for the latest edition of Nick Valencia Live. Hey, everybody, it's March 12th. It's Thursday, and we have a show lined up here for you today. I want to start by saying that we had, given all of the oxygen, here, let me take this music down here, given just really all of the attention around what was going on around the Epstein files, we wanted to bring you an interview with Epstein survivor number one. And we had been talking to representatives from their representatives. We've been talking to people connected to them, and at the last minute, they backed out, which is totally understandable. There's a lot of sensitivity surrounding that, and I want you to know that in spite of us following immigration closely and following social justice issues closely, I've also been paying attention very closely to what's been going on with the Epstein files. And I think Aaron Parnas has been doing a phenomenal job at parsing through them and kind of pulling out some of the details. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of what was going on within those files, but there's a lot of videos that have been posted by the Department of Justice that have not been redacted. And so that's some of the things that are emerging from this reporting is videos of underage girls, videos of unidentified men who emerge in these clips, these home recordings from Epstein Island. And you guys heard the news also this week. Katie Fang, formerly of MS Now, MSNBC, now an independent journalist like me, she hosted, I believe, a representative from New Mexico, where they are now reopening an investigation into the ranch that Epstein had there, where we know that he committed just countless atrocities and sexual abuse. It was just awful what he's accused of, and those in his orbit, what they're accused of. I think many of you who are watching this may agree that there have been a lot of distractions that have come up in the news cycle, specifically as we see some of these headlines come out from the Epstein files. There's always something bigger in the news that happens to take it over. We've experienced that with immigration. I remember last summer when the ICE siege of Los Angeles started, things were really, a lot of attention, a lot of focus. And then there was a possibility for war with Iran, and everyone kind of shifted focus, and the shiny object distracted everybody. I think what the Trump administration is really good at, because let's be clear, President Trump is a master manipulator of the media, and he could easily run any single one of the media companies out there in the country and in the world. And I think what the Trump administration is supremely effective at is not just controlling the message, but controlling these tiny little series of breaking news headlines, because they know that our attention spans are so short that all they need to do is control a moment. They can take the damage in the short term. We just experienced this with Camp East, Montana. We were there last week, where it seemed as though our reporting really had an impact. We reported that there was a red rash among the detainees, that it was itchy, painful, spreading all over the body, including the genitals, that they had been dealing with this rash for 4 months, according to primary sources. We leave, we report that out. El Paso health officials went inside and determined that that was measles. And it was an outbreak that was only diagnosed recently, but it's an outbreak that they had been dealing with for a long time. And so we get the headline that Camp East, Montana is going to close, that ICE is going to go in there and shut everything down. People are going to be moved to Socorro. And then just within the last 48 hours, new information revealed that it's not closing at all. And so this is similar to what I experienced last summer with Alligator Alcatraz when I first launched this independent journalism platform. We had done some reporting. We had a very high-level source within Alligator Alcatraz who was a Trump supporter, somebody who was shocked at what they were seeing and what they were experiencing, and started to leak me details. And I reported them out. I was told that CRS, Critical Response Strategies, it's a Florida-based group, no business being in the detention immigration business. But they got the contract, billions and billions of dollars. I was told at the time last summer that they lost their contract because of all of these mismanagement and miscues, only to come to find out that internally they just restructured the deal, so to speak, so that CRS wasn't at the top of the deal. They were still very much so involved, and still to this day, they're very much so involved. The Trump administration doesn't give a shit. They don't care. They're continuing to do things behind the scenes and misleading the public, misinforming us, and people who believe in the president and want to believe that he is that he cares for all of us. I think some of them are naive. Some of them are not paying attention to what's going on, but they've convinced that he is moving in good faith. And we have some guests here to prove to you that he is not. And I want to start by also talking about what happened yesterday in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont. Did you guys see what happened here yesterday? Late last night, happened at about 7 p.m. Just after 7:30, where, according to VT Digger, which is an independent outlet there, ICE, Immigration Customs and Enforcement agents, they descended upon a home. They were assisted by, according to eyewitnesses, assisted by members of a tactical team with the Vermont State Police. And I'm just going to play that video again. What resulted was an hours-long standoff where tear gas was deployed, violent clashes broke out. According to VT Digger, some of those local residents who showed up to support this man that was eventually taken into custody, they were taken into custody as well and put in the back of suspected federal vehicles, unmarked vehicles. This really caught my attention a lot because this is the first sort of chaos of its kind, this sort of scenes of this magnitude that I have seen, other than outside of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles. This is the first kinds of chaotic scenes that we have witnessed since the murder of Alex Priddy, when we saw clashes erupt in Minneapolis. And we saw some action and some consequences because of that. Tom Homan, first Greg Bovino was sacked, then Tom Homan came out and said, we're going to do things differently here. Look, we all know, as I just mentioned, nothing is straightforward. They ended Operation Metro Surge. ICE is still in the state. People are still being detained, kidnapped, taken into custody. It is not over. It has just moved on to another area. And you see now what's going on in Burlington, Vermont. So I want to make sure that you guys got caught up with that. But we want to get to our guests here. We want to get to our next guest. It's somebody who kind of, we had earlier this week, Lydia Terrazas, who's been focusing a lot on what's going on in the Dilley Detention Center, a detention center built for families. And one of the people that has been an ally in this is Dr. Anita Patel. She is, let me get her bio up here. Remove that. There we go. There. Who we are. This is Dr. Anita Patel. I want to make this full screen here. This is her advocacy page. She is an assistant professor, associate professor at George Washington University. She's also a physician, and she's just an all-around badass. We're going to remove that, and we're going to add her to the stage here. And we're going to, hey, Dr. Patel, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. And as I said to you earlier, I have been following you for a very long time because you're one of the few people that are giving us the news we need, not the news we want. So
God
thank
bless
you.
you for saying that. I feel like it's our responsibility as journalists to bring the reality. And you have seen some really real stuff. And I want to start by something that you sent us just before the show. It's a developing story. If I could find it here, is it this? Is it? Yes, right here. A 5-year-old boy who is also being held in Dili. He hasn't gone to the bathroom. He's been constipated for almost 10 days now. And
11 now. Yeah.
11 now. And he's missing. Can you bring us up to speed about what's going on here with the story?
Yes, and forgive me because I am definitely a double board certified pediatrician and pediatric critical care doctor and not a reporter, but this is breaking news, and it is breaking news from Lydia Teresas.
Yeah.
And what she said is that Dili has been on lockdown since 9 a.m. this morning. What she also knows is that just prior to lockdown, Gael's mom, the mother of the constipated child that has not pooped in 11 days, was escorted out of Dili. Other reporting we heard from Lydia, who is witnessing everything.
Yeah,
She has
she's there.
also said, like, absolutely, minute by minute, and I can say that I was just telling Nick, we are texting 24 hours a day. I mean, this woman does not stop. You don't stop, and thank you. So they walked mother out of Dili just before lockdown at 9 a.m. And they also saw a helicopter go into Dili. So obviously this is all very suspicious.
Yeah.
We do not know if Gael has been taken to the hospital, but historically it seems that when children are very sick, they have a helicopter come. There's a very good reason for that. I'm an ICU doctor. We send helicopters when a child needs emergent care. So, if we put this all together, that child needed emergent care. And guess what? The closest pediatric hospital is an hour and a half away. So that's why they had to fly, if that is the case.
What's the circumstances? Why wouldn't somebody be able to go to the bathroom for 9 days? I mean, is it the food? Is there indication that they're sick?
There's so many reasons why a child can be constipated. And it really goes from psychosocial. So if a kid is stressed out, and is uncomfortable, is likely dehydrated as well, and we know that they are being starved and malnourished, that creates the perfect storm for their intestines to shut down. And it can start behaviorally, right? So it can start as I am too scared to go to the bathroom, whether it's fear of using the bathroom, where it's unfamiliar, or they're witnessing violence, right? So these kids have a good reason not to want to go to the bathroom. The problem is when you start to do that, then you get further constipated, further backed up. And I do want to say this. Standard of care for a 5-year-old, if they have had no poops in 3 to 4 days, and that is out of the ordinary for them, you need to go see your doctor. Okay? You need to go see your doctor.
But you know this from the stories that we're hearing inside, Dr. Patel, is that basic medical care is non-existent. This whole Hippocratic oath of doing no harm doesn't exist. And this types of guidance that they're getting is if you self-deport or go send yourself back to your country, you'll get the care that you need. Right. So what is the standard? I mean, what stories are you hearing about medical care in these facilities?
Yeah, so I can speak to everything you just said. So first of all, I know in real time what was happening with Juan Nicolás. So I'm going to tell the story in that lens. And just to remind
Juan Nicolás is the 2-month-old who was held. Lydia Teresas was on the show earlier this week, and she brought us an update about this 2-month-old.
So what we know is that he was getting sick for days inside the Dili Detention Center. And I want to remind you, he's 2 months old. And 2 months old go from looking at you and smiling to not breathing. And that's why, like that. And I am not just saying this for drama. I am saying this as someone who does this for a living. This is all I do. Critical care for kids. And we knew that this child was going to end up in the ER. So that's when we wrote our letter, got, thousands of healthcare workers to sign it. And we started
this letter right here that you wrote to then DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, right?
Yes, then secretary, although our future secretary might not be as good either, but for a later day. So with Juan, I know. So with Juan Nicolás, what happened is he was sick for days. We were sounding the alarm. Not surprisingly, we told mother, you need to take him to the healthcare area. I don't know exactly what that means, but what I do know is that mother was sitting and waiting in that healthcare area for up to 18 hours. There was no healthcare person there, no nurse, no physician's assistant, certainly not a physician, not even someone to give her Tylenol. I mean, not even Tylenol. And what happened is exactly what we said would happen. He was rushed to the community hospital, not to the pediatric hospital. He was very clearly, and I can confirm this, seen by non-pediatric doctors, because a pediatric doctor would have admitted Juan Nicolás, because that's standard of care. If you have an unresponsive episode, which is the reason why Juan Nicolás went to the hospital, standard of care is to admit for 24 to 48 hours. Instead, they sent him right back to Dili and then dumped him on the side of the road at the border of US-Mexico.
Yeah,
and then
they were lured like with the promise of a foster family, and they're not even from Mexico, they're from Guatemala. Are you surprised that more people have not died in immigration detention hearing these stories?
Yes. And I'll be honest, I feel like every day some past news comes out that we hear about that confirms that the horrors we suspect are happening. So I don't think we already know that up to 10 children have died in detention. And what I can say is that more will come, it's not a might, they will. And I say this knowing the compendium of evidence that I am hearing from the inside at Dili about the treatment, the medical care, the starvation, the exposure to infectious diseases that can kill children. Yeah. And I don't want to sanitize this language anymore, because I think we're doing a disservice. And I'm sorry if I'm coming out strongly, but I want more people to hear this, that, there's a lot of gray and nuance in medicine. I know we all hear about this on the news with vaccines and everything, although I'd argue there's not a lot of nuance there, but there's no nuance here. Critical care is black and white. I am a black and white doctor. I know what I can fix, and I know pretty quickly what I can't fix. And what we are seeing are a lot of issues that are so fixable, it's comical. Like I was reviewing calls from Dili to EMS. They were calling about fevers. Why didn't they just give that kid Tylenol? Wow. Why are you calling about a fever? And then why are you not calling immediately when a child has 3 seizures and they didn't treat anything? I mean, that is publicly knowledge. That's public knowledge. Look it up. I mean, this is what is in my head at all times, and why I feel crazy when I'm telling people children are dying, children are getting hurt, and children will die. And somehow I still get responses, oh, well, they're not supposed to be here.
Well, I think about the story that I heard with the measles, that it ended up being measles. And they were telling me that the doctors who they had to wait for 2 days to see, Dr. Patel, they would just basically give them this salve or this ointment and say, ponte eso, te va a arreglar todo. You'll be better if you just put this ointment on. And that's how they treated measles. You talked about like these like comical things that they're not funny. It's just how absurd it is that they're not doing their basic Hippocratic oath. I want to talk about this story you sent me about this pregnant woman and her lack of care. Let's play this and talk about it on the other side.
I am still posting right now because there is some ridiculous breaking news. God, I feel like Aaron Parnas right now. He's amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Juana, the pregnant woman, as we said yesterday, was deported. This is the mother that is due to deliver at the end of March. She was deported and we could not find her. And let me tell you what we have been doing. Thanks to Casey and Lydia Teresa and a whole network of incredible people, we have been able to find her. She has been deported to Guatemala. Again, thanks to Casey at Each Step Home, which is doing more than our government ever could. We have secured her money, hotel, lodging, food, etc., so that she can be safe. This is your time to call your congressman and tell them this needs to end now. If you are in healthcare and have not signed our letter to end child detention now.
I mean, clearly you're impassioned by it. You could hear your child in the background. You're a mom. This affects parents, I think, in a way that it affects non-parents. It's just different. It's what it
It's
is.
it's
Tell
different.
us about this case. I think I hear 9-month-old or 9-month pregnant mother. You're not supposed to fly. You're not supposed to be traveling. What happened here in this case?
And I'm so glad you brought this case up because it
Yeah.
highlights another thing that people say, oh, well, if they want to go home, they can go home. They
No,
can
they can't.
self-report. They cannot. We both know that with every piece of information that has been fed to us. And everyone needs to hear this. They cannot just leave. They cannot just self-deport. So what happened with Juana specifically, she begged to be deported. She begged. She knew she did not want to have that baby in detention because she knew it was not safe. They denied her from being deported. And then when she was not medically safe to be deported, and when people like Lydia and yourself were reporting that her hair was falling out, that she wasn't getting enough nutrition, that she was truly physically and mentally declining, and then all the calls and the pictures went into Dilly, and then I believe, and this is not based on fact, in retaliation they sent her away because that seems to be their MO.
Cruelty is
And
the point in this. Yeah, cruelty is the point. And that's what I struggle with balancing, is because previously, under any other circumstance, you would think like attention and making noise about something would actually help you. But in some cases, it's like rolling the dice. I mean, you say it potentially hurt her in this. It probably did.
oh, absolutely. And I just want to say one thing that I don't think a lot of people know. One of the saddest, but I guess silver linings of what happened to Juana is that within half an hour of being deported, Lydia was able to find her, and she said she was more relaxed and happy than she had been her entire time in detention. And that was with being deported in such an evil and cruel way. And I also want to add that many doctors did not sign off on her flying. They found some doctor, and also we should find that doctor because they need to give us their justification. But you are not supposed to fly after 36 weeks, and you need a doctor's note to fly after 36 weeks, because if you give birth in an airplane, there could be complications.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I mean, we don't even know what we're putting ourselves normally through when we fly,
Yeah.
all the pressure, everything that is done to our organs, our dehydration. I mean, there's a reason why doctors say don't fly to pregnant women. It's
Yeah.
not safe. They're
It
not
can
even
induce pregnancy.
It
Absolutely.
can induce pregnancy. They're not
Yes.
even treating people like people, though, it
No,
seems. I mean,
no.
what is your take when you hear these stories going through, again, I keep bringing up this ethical oath that you
Yeah.
took to do no harm and to help? I mean, what's it like to internalize it as a doctor, Dr. Patel?
I don't think I could have done, no, let me say this. I know I could not have done any of this or sustain this advocacy without the people around me. And that is Dr. Laura Jones, Dr. Ashley Cuzzo, Lydia Teresa, and Casey at Each Step Home. And what I mean by that is we are, and I'm not exaggerating, texting each other 24 hours a day so that whenever a child or a family needs help, whether it's money to buy water, money to buy food, we get their contacts, we send them money. Everyone has been so generous. Like, we have raised almost $300,000 for these families in a month. And that's not me. That's you guys, like that. And that's why when you asked me to be on, I was like, please. I don't care about being in the limelight. I could care less. I mean, look at me. I'm a doctor.
Look
But
great.
but what I do care about is people getting this news. And just like you said, it makes you feel crazy. Like, I honestly feel crazy sometimes telling people Juan Nicolás, a 2-month-old child that has been detained for half of his life, is going to end up in the ER if we don't do anything. It happens, and it still like doesn't change the minds of everyone. And this is one thing I want to say as well. You said it's different for parents, and it is. And it's different for parents, it's different for pediatricians, and it's very different for myself as a critical care doctor, because everything I hear that happens there, I not only know how they would react, but I know what harm is happening in their body. And I feel that. Like I really do. And it
Like they could be getting help that they desperately need, but they're not. They're just
Yeah.
being denied it because people want to
they're
be mean.
being denied it. And it just, I don't know how this is continuing because medical laws are so clear. They are, I mean, could be 1,000 malpractice suits against them, but because they're trying to hide everything, no one can actually take action. But yeah, these are our children. And I think constantly calling them I mean, they are detainees because they're prisoners,
They're
but
pretrial detainees, some of them haven't even been adjudicated or seen, or some of them have been doing it the right way, like the wife of the next guest that we're going to come, who's going to come up, Brandon Garrison's wife, Gabriela. It's like they don't care. People hear these stories, and I know I have Trump voters within the audience, and I know some people think they watch this because they get off on it. They love to hear the cruelty. It's like, yeah. And so what do you say to these people who are like, well, it's the parents' fault. The kids are in this position. Why is it our responsibility? I'm not baiting you, doctor. I
know you're not.
People that say, why is it our responsibility to give them medical care? I mean, human beings all deserve to be given care that they need, I think. But how do you react to that?
Yeah. So luckily, I have been fighting trolls on the internet for a decade because I came to fame on social media during COVID, advocating for the pediatric vaccine. So I'm very used to that. And how I respond in this specific case is I don't fight. What I say is, how would you feel if this was your child? How would you feel if that was your dad? How would you feel if this was your best friend? How would you react? That's it. And if they don't want to engage, they don't engage. I don't fight with internet trolls, but I do respond in a way that I have like a minutia of hope might get through to them. Because if we thought of any of our kids being in Dilley, let's just say it, if there was a blonde 2-year-old girl in Dilley, it would be torn down. And we both know that.
I know. And I think about all the years I spent in traditional media and the missing kid cases. I mean, Nancy Grace, who was part of our sister network, she would get called out all the time because all of her missing kid cases were, Casey Anthony, blonde hair, blue eyed kind of kids. And, the kids of color, people just didn't care. People still talk about Madeleine McCann, right? It's just, oh gosh, I mean, we can go on. John Bonet Ramsey.
I was just going to say John Bonet. Yeah, it's,
and yet to hear these kids who, I'm so glad that photo of Liam galvanized people in his Spider-Man backpack and his beanie. I mean, you saw the fear in his eyes. He was, and people forget this aspect of it. He was being used as bait by those federal agents 100%. To lure people out of his home.
Yeah.
In order to take them into custody. And Representative Castro as well. Liam, they say he hasn't been the same since he went through that experience. Speaking of Representative Castro, I wanted to play this clip. You were actually at the State of the Union here, and there was some shit that went down right in front of you.
My parents are still mad at me. So.
Really quick, there was a demonstrator from Minneapolis who was injured, had a traumatic brain injury. She stood up during the State of the Union and was escorted out. I want to play, well, here's a photo of that. There's Dr. Patel right there in the upper right-hand corner, and then the woman in the mask is being escorted out there. You see her here. Let me play this clip that you posted right afterwards, right after, acknowledging that you were there and what you saw.
Minneapolis, where a lot of the ICE protests and frankly ICE brutality has taken place.
I yelled, "I'm disabled," at the hands grabbing at me, and an agent said, "Too late." I was carried face down through the street by my cuffed arms and legs while yelling that I had a brain injury and was disabled. Now cannot lift my arms normally.
She attended the State of the Union tonight, and when President Trump stood up and talked about ICE, she quietly and politely stood up.
I was not just removed and arrested. I was arrested so physically that 2 other attendees upstairs attempted to intervene in officers pulling on my shoulders after I told them I have a torn rotator cuff tendon and multiple cartilage tears in both of my shoulders. 2 women in the gallery, and thank you to the woman in the white shirt with the red writing who said, "I need you to take your hands off of her and just let her walk with her cane."
You tell me, who deserves to be dragged out of the State of the Union? Is it the people that are defending child sex predators? Is it the people that are committing crimes against humanity in detention centers? Is it the people that are imprisoning completely innocent children? No. They decided to drag her out. And I happened to be nearby. So I started to scream, she has a traumatic brain injury. And I know that because I attended a Senate hearing where she testified and told her story. And if you haven't heard it yet, I'm going to link to it in my stories. It is a harrowing tale that everyone should hear about. And without thinking...
That was a brief report to camera after you went through what you went through and what you saw. I mean, describe just seeing that. I mean, I know the clip went viral. Getty Images was there. You know, here you are. You can't get away from the drama here. What happened?
So I literally was invited to attend the hearing where Aliyah Rahman gave her testimony. And it was an incredible hearing that was led by Blumenthal and Klobuchar and several other incredible senators and reps, actually. And she told her story and I recognized her. So I was sitting in Representative Castro's guest seat. And thank you again for having me. That was just something I will never forget, obviously, for many reasons. And I saw, and I recognized her just by looking at her across the way. And I noticed that she did not say a word. This woman did not say a word. She quietly stood up. Within 10 seconds, 4 security guards were on her. And obviously I wasn't thinking, because no one who is thinking would do this, but I jumped up.
You were reacting as a person. That was your instinct to react.
I wasn't just reacting as a person. I was very specific. I jumped over and said, I am a doctor. I am not getting in your way as a doctor. I'm getting in your way because you are grabbing her shoulders. She has a torn rotator cuff injury from ICE brutality. And I yelled, she has a traumatic brain injury and she's neurodivergent, and you are not letting her even use her cane. Oh, that's the other thing. She was using a cane and they were dragging her by her arms. I will say, I got out of their way because they stopped grabbing her by her arms and let her use her cane a little bit. But it was disgusting. And I will be honest, the only reason I did not follow them is because a very nice woman behind me said, we're going to send a lawyer. So then I said, okay. I did look for her after, and obviously she was gone. But yes, I tried to address it from a medical standpoint because I was like, who else can? And I happened to be wearing a white coat. So what are you going to do?
You were looking hard, clearly. There's no way that they could. And also where you were sitting, it's like, you got to be invited there, you know? Dr. Patel, we don't want to keep Brandon waiting any longer here. He's about to win on the next. No, you've been wonderful. Before we leave you, is there anything that you would like to talk about or anything you'd like our audience to know? Anything I didn't ask you? Now's your chance.
I would love to ask your audience to donate. If you go to www.anitakpatelmd.com/advocacy, we have tons of fundraisers, including one that goes in the commissary and also that go into specific families. So please donate. Your money is going directly to these families.
And how can we keep up with you when people want to follow your work?
Right. You can find me on Instagram. I'm very bad at self-promotion, as you can see. You can find me on Instagram, Anita K. Patel, MD, and I'm on all the channels. So always reach out. I'm always here if you need anything.
Dr. Patel, you're an angel. You really are.
You are. Thank you so much.
You know, there's so many of us that are doing things because we feel it's the right thing to do, you know, and like individuals are having to step up in ways that no one is going to hold our hand and say, this is what you can do. You just have to step up and fill the gaps where you see them. And that's exactly what you're doing. You know, thank you so much for meeting the moment with us, Dr. Patel. We'll see you next time. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much.
It's Dr. Anita Patel. What a lovely guest. I really enjoyed that. We're going to pivot now to just a heartbreaking story. We hear all the time this criticism. Why don't they just do it the right way? Why don't they just, you know, apply for asylum and go through the process? And, you know, it's hard, but, you know, that's what the lawful thing to do is. And so we decided that we needed to start hammering back at that argument because it's not that easy. It's not cut and dry. And nothing, it seems, in Trump's America is straightforward. Hasn't been. Our next guest, Brandon Garrison, his wife, Gabriela, is from Venezuela. And I was flagged to this story by a mutual friend of ours, Rook T. Winchester, closer to the edge, 5 months in ICE detention. And this is a story here that has picked up a lot of traction. I want to bring in Brandon now, joins us now live on Nick Valencia Live. Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time with us. Your wife has been in custody for the last 5 months. Let's just pick up there and tell us, what happened.
First off, thanks for having me, Nick. She essentially was detained by ICE. She's been in there 5 months. I've been doing everything I have learned on my own over the last 5 months, working with an attorney to try to get her out. And we're essentially being railroaded by a Trump-appointed judge on the habeas side of it. It's a very, very treacherous terrain dealing with immigration court. The goalpost seems to move, all the time. Essentially, we've been categorized, or my wife's been categorized as an arriving alien. This is the terminology that is being placed upon hundreds of thousands of people. When you are categorized as an arriving alien, the judge in immigration court does not have jurisdiction over your case. The only people that would have jurisdiction would be ICE, who obviously is reluctant to provide or exercise any of their discretionary abilities. So
yeah, they don't want to have anyone in custody. They want to keep them there, and so private companies can make money off of people like your wife.
Correct. So that leaves everybody's last option is to sue the government essentially in federal habeas corpus court. We've done that. We unfortunately got the bad luck of the draw, and we got a newly appointed Trump judge who is being criticized by his own colleagues, in their opinions in federal court, which is pretty unheard of. We're at a standstill right now, so we have no response. He's not ruling on our case. It's kind of like at a dead end right now on that side of it. And then on
And
the
so
immigration,
should be given bond. Is that what the deal is here? She should. I mean, she had TPS. She came in, applied for asylum. She did it, quote, the right way. Why isn't she being given bond? And this is the photo. I've been trying to get that picture up here, but this is a photo of the judge that Brandon says is standing in the way here, a Trump-appointed judge. Tell us about explicitly what is he doing to keep your wife in custody?
So he pretty much what they're saying is that when somebody's parole expires, my wife came here during the humanitarian crisis when everybody fled Venezuela. She came in 2023. She was granted 2 years of parole. We were married prior to her parole being expired, and we started the process to adjust her status. She got detained, unfortunately, before all that could go through. And based on the categorization that they just check a little box that says arriving alien, the judge doesn't have jurisdiction on the immigration side, so now we have to go to the federal side. On the federal side, this guy's essentially taken a minority stance against the majority and hundreds of other judges across the nation, and saying that, I'm the minority. I don't really care if you like my opinion. This is what I think. Anybody detained at the border or inside the interior of the United States should be subject to mandatory detention. We
They're
were
trying to
suing for.
That's what it feels like. It's like it doesn't matter who you are. Go through the port of entry, go through the open fields, go through this process of TPS or spousal green card. We don't want you here. Is that what it feels like, Brandon?
Yeah. I don't understand that. We've done nothing wrong. My wife has no criminal record. She has a social security number. She pays taxes. She has a driver's license. She came here the right way. She flew here on a plane from Venezuela. She had permission from the United States to come here before she boarded that plane from Venezuela. So to be railroaded, and now I'm essentially going to be forced to leave the country. We're essentially being forced to say, okay, well, let's take a 3-year ban on reentry, and maybe we can live with that, or fight against the Trump-appointed judge and appeals and all this stuff that is like kind of feels hopeless at this point in my life, and then risk a 10-year bar. So we're being squeezed on both sides of the totem pole here.
That's the rub, and it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you feel, how complicated is this? Because I know a lot of Venezuelans, they support President Trump. They liked him going in to try to, with Juan Guaido and supporting the coup that happened years ago. Now with what we see with Maduro. What did Gabriela say when they took away TPS? What has been her feelings about this all?
Well, she's been scared. But like most people, and most people that I've spoke to, when I tell them my story is, oh, well, the first question is, aren't you guys, but you're married, right? People just assume that that's like the end of it. It's so much more to it than that, and they make you jump through so many loopholes and stuff. And my stepdaughter's actually in Venezuela. She went
Wow.
back with her grandmother, and they actually live a mile from the palace where the Maduro stuff happened.
Wow.
And I was trying to figure out how to like sneak into the country to get her out, when all that stuff happened, because I thought it was going to be like Iraq. And nothing's changed over there. I get videos all the time of the collectibles on the motorcycles. I get literally those videos sent to me all the time. I have them on my phone. Nothing's changed over there. They didn't change anything. They just, put their hand in Venezuela's pocket, essentially.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
everything
that's
is
what
the
you
same.
know, see? Everything is the same over there. That's crazy to
And
hear.
if people fled from that, right now, you want to send them back when it's worse. It's like propaganda, like they make it seem like, oh, everything's fine and dandy over there. It's the same. Nothing's changed. I actually think it's worse now because at least you had one person that was kind of like pulling the strings. Now you have all these other people fighting for power, and it's definitely going to be worse in that instance. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone
um
in that. Some people are like, hey, the administration's going in there to liberate Venezuela so they could send back hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans to say, now your country is safe. You don't need to come here. That whole political asylum claim, it's non-existent. There's no merit because we've saved you guys.
But
That's
that's not the
yeah,
case. Yeah,
that's
it's
not the
definitely not
case.
the case. And when I seen the people, like I live in South Florida, so when I seen all the people in Miami, cheering this and that at that famous restaurant in Doral, it makes my blood boil, especially at the time, because I don't know if you guys remember what Iraq looked like or anything else, but millions of people are going to die if it turns into that. So you guys are over here cheering because you're on this side free, let alone now all those people are being sent back too. They're coming after everybody. They're trying to remove citizenship. Nobody is safe right now from ICE. If even if you have a green card or you have citizenship, they're trying to remove birthright citizenship. So nobody's safe. Like ICE definitely is like a huge problem.
Did you think it would ever get this bad?
Honestly, no. And I'm like a lot of other Americans that it doesn't affect you till it does. And I kind of feel like regret for not taking, maybe taking it more seriously or not being so disconnected to it, you know? But no, I mean, my life's completely upside down. Literally, I've been consumed with everything immigration. I've probably read 300 opinions looking for a precedent case, like I've talked to 50 attorneys. I've emailed every single news desk and journalist, including yourself. Unfortunately, I got kicked back. Um, I did a podcast with John Carlos Frey. I'm going to protest now. I'm trying to throw all the Hail Marys I can into the end zone, hoping one lands into the right place. Because at the end of the day, they could let my wife out tomorrow on parole on an ankle monitor, but
Yeah,
they're
they've got the
refusing to do
discretion to
so.
do that. They have the discretion to
Correct.
do that. Did you have feelings about Trump or the administration prior to this?
I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I voted for him in 2016. And that was more or less because I'm in Florida. This is kind of like the MAGA state. Whatever I fish, I would a boat, like all my friends would, voted for him. I didn't vote for him the next 2 years because I was like, I like to at least think I'm pretty smart. Um, you can con me once, not twice, that kind of thing.
You had
So
given him a chance.
yeah, I mean, everybody deserves at least one shot, but what did you really do for the country? It was all like a TV like hoax type of thing, for me. Okay, you had a successful TV show, whatever, you're well known, okay, you manipulated yourself into office. Great, you got your shot, but I wasn't gonna vote for him again. And now I have like so much anger towards this administration and everything involved. I've never been political, and I'm literally been consumed between the immigration stuff, then the Venezuela stuff, because my stepdaughter's there in Caracas. I was trying to figure out how to like sneak into the country to get her out, because the grandma doesn't have something called a lelopna, which is like custody essentially in the United States. Because she went there so quickly, my wife didn't have obviously any of the opportunity to make those arrangements. So I was trying to like figure out how to sneak into the country to get her out. Thankfully, it hasn't turned into Iraq, but look what's going on in the Middle East, like they could revert back to that at any time now and say, yeah, well, we're going back to Venezuela. We're done in the Middle East, like, so
Sure.
it's still in the back of my head, like.
There's lots of oil there too in Venezuela. When was the last time you talked to Gabriela, and what does she sound like? I mean, how has this experience changed her?
She is she's a strong-willed person. At least I've learned that a lot over the last 5 months. Um, it's been an emotional roller coaster for both of us, because first it was like, okay, well, we're gonna fight. Then it was, okay, well, now we're being railroaded by this Trump appointed judge who's being called out by other superior judges on their opinions by name for taking a minority stance. So now we're like, okay, well, maybe we need to revert back to just, taking voluntary departure. And now we're like, okay, well, maybe we need to fight. I don't know what to do, and it's not really my decision to make. It's her life. Obviously we're married, and it's kind of like both of us, but it's not 7 years of my life, like I can come back here essentially. So I'm trying to like leave it to her. She wants to fight. We were prepared for her to stay in there for 12 months, or another 16 months maybe. We were prepared for that, because our thought process is, okay, well, we're just going to fight and go through the motions, and then essentially the 130, the I-130, and the adjustment of status will go through, and she's going to get out. Well, now the immigration judge is saying, yeah, no, I'm not giving any more continuances. And her 1 year mark of unlawful presence is on April 19th. So if we're not out of the country by that day, we're going to get a 10-year ban. But if we just suck it up now and take, one on the chin, we'll get a 3-year ban. And my attorney's now trying to like say, maybe it's best just to tuck your legs and, tuck your tail between your legs and take one on the chin and do the 3 years, So it's been an emotional roller coaster for me and her. She's holding up pretty well. The conditions in there are really bad. She sent me pictures of like moldy food, rice that they give them, like that's like clumped, like literally like a softball, hard as a rock. Um, they get in fights in there all the time. There's no like CO, like officer there, correctional officer that's on, in the room. It's just like a big room with like a bunch of cells, and they're like outside. So there's fights that she said have gone on for like an hour. She actually just messaged me a couple of days ago and said that there's a mute person there that's like deaf, and they don't talk or hear well. They're deaf, obviously, and they were calling her for the doctor, and she obviously can't hear them. I guess it was like she came in on the last shift. This is a new shift. They weren't aware that she was deaf, and they beat the girl up. So the conditions in there are really bad. She's to the point
Where is
now where
in
she
right
just
now? Where is she at?
at,
What facility?
at Baker County Detention Center. It's in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's a prison, and she has no record at all. But they said that because she's never been convicted or charged with a crime. She was arrested or detained for something, and they said, oh, well, because you were detained for that, we're going to send you to the prison.
No charges though, nothing.
Nope.
And yeah, but because of this mark or whatever, she's now being treated as a violent offender. I mean, that's what's so upside down to me, is that it's this broad stroke that everyone is a violent offender, and we're going to treat them all like they are violent criminals, right? Like it wasn't just a man drew a line here and says, this is America, this is Mexico, you can't come across. And if you do cross, now all of a sudden you're equivalent to a murderer. Is basically, they put you in these facilities where you're around general population. I've talked to so many people. Mario Guevara is a story I think of. He was extorted in Atlanta federal prison. I mean, these are dangerous places. And the other thing,
they're telling.
yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
Sorry. No, I was saying, yeah, they're telling they do that in her place too. Like I was sending her commissary because the food there is nasty. So I try to do what I can. I've been like sending money like to get her like tuna for protein, and like whatever we can make out of like regular the little order thing that you can send food. And the girls were there like extorting her for her commissary and stuff, trying to beat her, saying, oh, you need to give me X amount of this every week, or else like I'm gonna beat you up, like all kind of stuff. So it that is very true. It does happen.
You're newlyweds, and this is supposed to be Sincerely, man. I mean, I remember my first year of marriage. It was like paradise. This is when you're supposed to be happy and celebrating and thinking about building a home together and starting a life together. And you guys have been married for about a year now. Is that right?
Yeah,
And
correct.
half of it's been spent dealing with this nonsense, you know?
Yeah, it's not been fun to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, how do you start establishing a marriage when this is in the way? Like all the energy that you could be, I mean, I don't need to tell you this, man. All the
No,
energy
I know.
focused on building.
I haven't even been able to work. Like all my energy is consumed to reading opinions, looking for President Case, which thank God I don't have to read any more of those. But now I have a President Case to point to, and it gets me nowhere. Like it's never ending.
What do you wish people were asking that they aren't asking, or what do you think in your time that you have with us? What do you want people to know about how Trump's mass deportation policy is impacting families?
Well, you know, for me, they're definitely just. I feel it's this for me, and I don't know how to talk on the. I don't want to say the wrong things on the show, but it's like a
Can't
racist
say anything
machine
wrong,
that
man.
they've. Yeah, it's like a
You're
racist machine that they've generated to run on. And they are. It doesn't matter where you're from, what country, whatever. They really don't care. They just want somebody to treat as animals and to put into this propaganda machine that they've invented to run on. Um, as you can see that everything this guy has ran on has completely been false and has been a nightmare. Everything, every single thing, the no new wars, the immigration policy. There was an immigration
economy.
policy that exactly, which is way worse. Um, there was an immigration policy that they I forget the exact name of it, but it could have passed and it would have reformed immigration and it would have been way better and all the clear pathways to legal citizenship would have been in place and it, I mean I feel like embarrassed sometimes to be an American and if I have to end up moving to Colombia I'm gonna be embarrassed to even say I'm American or from America, like so for people to really just fight for people like myself, and I can't tell you how many countless other stories I've read on TikTok and stuff like that. Just the other day, yesterday, I ran into a story where not only are people getting screwed by ICE, but you have like vulture attorneys that are taking advantage of people
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah.
And what I mean by that is so me being on TikTok, and I just recently made it to kind of get our story out there. I was reading a lot of comments on people's posts asking for help for their GoFundMe's and stuff about their loved ones being detained. And you would see like, oh, we got a bond hearing. And then you would go to like, a couple days later, or a week later, you would see the comments. So, oh, it got denied. So me putting two and two together and reading, all these opinions and stuff, what's happening, and I want to make a website with Rook to
Yeah.
help people. What's happening is attorneys know that the judge, like in my wife's case, doesn't have jurisdiction over the case, but they're not telling these desperate situation, people any of this. And they're saying, oh, well, let's file a bond motion. And they're charging upwards of $5,000 to file a bond motion, knowing dang well that the judge doesn't have jurisdiction. So then they show up and say, oh, I'm here for the bond motion. The judge is like, yeah, sorry, I don't have jurisdiction. Boom, $5,000 wasted. And these people are getting taken advantage of by attorneys all across the nation. I personally think it would be a huge story. Um, I just messaged a older gentleman. I can send you the message yesterday. His wife's very similar situation to mine. Legally came here, was detained. They hired an attorney who didn't show up to a third hearing. They gave her removal proceedings already. And then he's like, "Yeah, I filed," and I sent him an article that I typed up telling people, pretty much explaining very simply that if your loved one is detained under 1225 statute, ask your attorney one simple question. Does the judge have jurisdiction under this case under 1225? If they say no, do not file a bond motion because it's futile and you are wasting your money. The
Mm.
judge cannot help you. So I typed up something like that. Another misconstrusion that people believe and attorneys are telling people is you have to wait till 6 months of your loved one being detained to file a habeas motion, and that is not true.
No, it's not.
There's a case that points to that's kind of like the standard for unlawful detention or whatever the time period, but it doesn't prevent you from filing a habeas prior to that. And he essentially said, yeah, the attorney, I paid him $5,000 for the bond. We got granted a bond motion. He showed up, the judge wouldn't even let him speak or anything, and that's it. My money was wasted.
You
So
know
I
exactly.
know this is happening.
There's
I
grifters
know
in every
this is
profession.
happening.
God bless them.
Yeah. And there's no way that any attorney is that incompetent, because you have to look at the NTA prior to even taking the case. You need to know what you're dealing with. And on the NTA, you can't be that incompetent in immigration law to know that an arriving alien or somebody under 1225 statute the judge doesn't have jurisdiction. You can't be that incompetent. So if you are that incompetent, you don't deserve to have a bar license, or you're just robbing people, desperate people.
I know attorneys whose strategy it is just to collect money from the client and not do anything with the case, because they claim that it's better for the client and of course for their own finances that the person never goes in front of the court, that they're just out, and that people, the law or the legal community forgets about this person, but he continues to get paid. So there's grifters in every
But
profession.
I
There's
think
about
I
50%.
think it's good that we want to make a website to help families. We
Yeah,
also
of
want to
course.
try to streamline something where we can do we're talking with a bunch of attorneys to streamline a part of the site for habeas, if that's where people end up having to go, which in most instances that's what people are being required, where they can do like a questionnaire, and then using a software that we're going to generate, it's kind of like AI, to type up the habeas and have it all made up specific to their case and provide it to them to save them money and hours and all that stuff. And they can just present it to their attorney and say, look, file the habeas. You might have to critique this a little bit, but your legwork's done.
That'd be
And
brilliant.
then also to have other things on there, attorneys that can offer pro bono services, other informational stuff based on all the stuff that I've learned. So, we want to make a site like that.
Well, using your own personal experience and strength and the hope that you've taken, I know there's a lot of desperation, but I could hear the emotion in your voice, man. From one husband to another, I don't know what I would do if my wife was in custody, man. All I want is her. All I need is her. And so
Yeah.
it's got to be hard, but also it's incredibly powerful, I feel, to know that you are in action, that you are trying to do what you can for others to help so that they don't have to suffer the same shit. It
I've
is
never done anything like this before, and I've never spoken on anything like this, and in front of a crowd. This is all new to me. I'm trying to navigate it as I go. Um, I'm really overwhelmed with anxiety and stress and depression and everything. I haven't been able to work. Um, it's just literally has consumed my life for the last 5, 6 months. So now I'm contemplating trying to figure out how to navigate moving to another country that I've never been. I don't speak the language. Uh, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, and I'm trying my best.
and
um,
there's superheroes coming to save us as men, as adults. It's like I don't know when I realized this, man. I forget, but it's just like there's no superhero out there. We've got to be in action. I believe in God, and I know if I do the right thing, that God will take care of the rest. And that's what I can give you right now, man. I do believe in the power of prayer, and I believe in the power of energy and good thoughts. And I know none of that, it may seem empty right now for the circumstance. Like I'm not offering you freedom for your wife or anything, but at the very least, man, I'm here, and I want you to know you're not alone. And I know that there's people that are watching it who are likely in a similar circumstance or scared that they might be in your circumstance. So the last question I have for you is how I finish a lot of interviews is if there's anything I haven't asked you, Brandon, that you think is important to know or anything that you'd like to talk about, now's your chance.
Yeah, definitely anybody that's out there that is worried to be in this kind of a situation, or you're going through the process, or you're scared to file your I-130 or adjustment of status, definitely try to get as versed in immigration law as possible. Talk to multiple attorneys, do as many free consultations as you can get all kinds of opinions. Don't just take one person's word for it. Definitely, try to get as versed in immigration law as possible. It is a very treacherous thing to try to understand, and there's a lot of moving parts in it. But if you really put your mind to it and understand it, you'll have the best opportunity to be successful in your endeavors of trying to establish citizenship in the United States. If there is, I reluctantly made a GoFundMe to try to help with my expenses and everything. If anybody would like to donate, you're not obligated to. I'm not here to solicit. I am going to incur a lot of expenses that are obviously unexpected to try to navigate moving to another country. I've already put myself in crazy debt and maxed out my credit cards for attorneys and all this stuff that's been crazy expensive. If anybody cares to donate, all donations will go towards me moving and navigating to another country to keep my family together. I will be documenting everything, and I'm going to make a YouTube videos, and I'm going to make a page, so I'll document the entire process and obviously how we're navigating and adjusting to life in another country. I'm going to try to make like a YouTube video out of it, like video page out of it, if you would.
Yeah.
I think it would be good for people to try to understand what people are being forced into. I will get that site over to you once we get it up and running, and maybe you can share it with your audience. It's going to be tips helpful to anybody that's trying to navigate the system. And just do everything you guys can. Vote in November. Please do everything you can to get this administration out, because I'm relying on you to have them out by the time I can come back from Colombia. So please make it happen. Go out and vote. If you're not registered to vote, do so. Double check it, because they're trying to like get people's names taken off the voter registrations. Double check it monthly. Make sure you're on there, and please, fight against ICE, because they're really ruining this country. This country was built on immigrants, and if anybody is too ignorant enough to understand that or see that, read a book. Like, do your research. Stop listening to the propaganda machine. And once you realize that it's built on, immigrants, and that's how this whole country was built and established, maybe you'll have a different outlook on what's going on right now.
Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time with Nick Valencia Live. We really appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch with you, but I'm so grateful for you sharing your story here, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I just want to say one last thing. Our TikTok is Help Us Fight ICE. If anybody wants to check it out, there's videos, there's all kind of information there in regards to our case. So if anybody wants to check that out, that's where you can find me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. We'll see you next time. Sorry to cut you off there. It was Brandon Garrison. And if you want to read more about his story, you can go over to our friend Rook T. Winchester's Closer to the Edge Substack, 5 months in detention. It explains a story there about Gabriella, where she is still in custody right now at the Baker Correctional Institute. It's a federal prison. She is not a criminal. She is somebody who followed the rules, somebody who came through the right way, and she is being held around violent offenders and the worst of the worst. That's our show for today, guys. We were able to highlight the work of Anita Patel, and also bring you a story of somebody who is just going through it. I think right now, the most important thing, or one of the most important things that we can do, is get together, is realize that we are not alone. And in the spirit of that, I'm going to be back in Los Angeles, not next week, but the week afterwards. And on March 24th, I'm going to be speaking at the USC Annenberg School of Journalism, to the School of Journalism there, in a special moderated discussion. And later that night, thank you, Natalie Hernandez, for putting this together. There's a meet and greet going on at the Boulevard Market in Montebello. We have 5 to 9 listed there. Initially, we had confirmed Father Greg Boyle. I'm going back and forth with his assistant right now. It might be a little too late. I wanted to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. Father Greg was supposed to be there. We are 50-50 on him, but we do have Gustavo Arreano, LA Times columnist, as well as Alexis Aleman, one half of the very popular social media account Foods in Medicine. We've also got some interest from Danny Trejo, Machete, the superstar Hollywood actor. And then I spoke yesterday to the manager of Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy. He's not going to be able to show up, but he's going to show some love in somehow, some way. So it'll be exciting to display that. And so if you guys are in town in Los Angeles, March 24th, I will be in Montebello. hosting our live show from there, where our guests will include definitely Gustavo Arreano, LA Times columnist. He is from Santana, Orange County's finest. And then we also have Alexis Aleman, one half of Foods in Medicine, just incredibly popular social media account. They're doing it, man. He's a foo in medicine, first generation American, and somebody who's out there trying to make a difference in his family. We wanted to, figured let's get together, man. Let's all hang out, and I'd love to meet you guys or spend time with you guys and just connect, Look, I've been doing this for 9 months now. I've been doing independent journalism and hosting the show probably for about 6 months. I think I started it in July or August, and it ain't easy, y'all. It ain't easy. I've been putting a lot of my own money into this. I have been making some money off of what we've been doing and the content that we've been putting out there. We had an incredibly, supremely successful month in January. But look, if I'm being rigorously honest with you guys, I am not a businessman. I'm not business savvy, or, my mind isn't there. There's a lot of things that I probably could have done to better position myself business wise, and my strategy was always just do good journalism and flood the zone with good content, and that the rest would take care of itself. It hasn't entirely worked out that way, and so I haven't really asked for money in a long time, and I feel weird asking for money after those two great stories. Someone who has a wife in custody and is planning on uprooting their life, somebody who is fighting the good fight there in Texas and showcasing what's going on to kids in detention, and the incredible stress that they're under. We heard about that story of the kid who hadn't gone to the bathroom in nearly 2 weeks. If you want to continue watching stuff like this and hearing stories like this, please donate. That's why we have our link. I think it's up here in the corner in the upper right-hand screen, or wherever it is on the screen. I've got this inverted image here. But look, I hate asking for money. It makes me feel so weird. I spent 19 years just working hard for it, and the paycheck would come every 2 weeks. And now it's like, I've got to, every now and then say, hey, I need help making this work, or, I've got to start considering something else, honestly. And that's not to be dramatic or poetic. And it also kind of sounds a little crazy considering how successful we have been at this, with getting all the acknowledgments and distinguishments that we have, from the Financial Times to saying that we're creating a new lane in journalism, Reuters Institute saying that we're one of a handful of journalists transforming journalism in all of Latin America, what the Pew Research Center says about us, top new media journalist in America, one of the 20 anyway. And yet I'm here asking you for money because we're about to run out of it. What the fuck, man? It's just, it's real. It's what it is. And I feel as though the more transparent I am, I don't know, I'll never have to ask or never have to wonder, what if I said what was really going on? What would have happened? And so that's what's really going on, guys. Thank you guys for shouting out the great program. I'm doing this all on my own, guys. No more Eric. Eric is not with us anymore. Eric is he's still alive. He's just not with the team here putting on this show. So I really appreciate you guys staying with us, sticking with us, and watching the show, liking, sharing, subscribing. If you are watching it on replay or listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, thank you so much. And in a time when the powerful are spreading fear without truth, we'd like to think that we're speaking truth without fear here. And I always say thank you for helping us make truth go viral, but really, what we're doing here is speaking truth to power and speaking truth without fear. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm stepping up to meet the moment and doing what I can, doing my part. And we heard from some people today, some individuals that no one's holding their hand to say, hey, this is what I want you to do, please. Like, you guys see that all the time. Oh, tell me how I can help. The more effective way to help is to just fucking do it. It's to just be in action and not wait for someone to tell you, hey, I need you to do this, or hey, I need you to do that. Just fucking do it, man. Just be in action. No one is going to hold your hand to opportunity. You've got to see it and seize it and take advantage of it. That's my advice for you guys that are watching. All right. Thank you guys so much for another great show. Appreciate y'all. Have a great day on purpose, everybody. See you next time.